Fury's back pocket. You know, all of them questions would have come out in that press conference, but he didn't give them the opportunity, did he? Because he made out like he was listening to music. Well, to be quite honest with you, mate, I don't think he was listening to anything. I think he heard everything that was going on. I've seen a bit of footage where Sugar Hill's responding to a question by the host, and on one of the clips I saw, the camera cuts to Deontay Wilder and the host leaning down to him and talking to him and asking him, I don't know, saying something to him, and he's talking to her perfectly fine. So, and he's still got his headphones on at the time. So quite clearly, there was nothing going through him.
Yeah, well, she's actually gone on Twitter and quoted what Deontay Wilder said to her.
Which is what?
Which was, it's nothing personal, but I won't be answering questions. So, yeah.
Way to build the fight, Deontay.
Well, you know, hence why she didn't try again, did she, after that?
Yeah,
you know.
Quite clearly. But what a damp squid. And considering that, I'm right in thinking that's the only press conference they're having.
That's what it was said on the night, yeah. That might change now after that performance, I would suggest. Yeah. But no, as it stands.
You'd like to think the promoters are going to pull Deontay Wilder and say, what the hell are you playing at? You're meant to be building this, you know. You're not going to get paid if we don't get any pay-per-view viewers. You better get yourself out there and try and build this fight.
I genuinely worry for Wilder because he just looks like a beaten man. You know, both mentally and physically. I mean, I believe them videos he was putting out with Malik Scott was for fake confidence anyway. You know, I agree with what Tyson Fury said, where he says everyone comes with a plan. And to quote Mike Tyson, everyone comes with a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right, Nick.
You know, I don't.
Everyone can look great on pads.
I don't believe Tyson. I don't believe Deontay Wilder's got any boxing ability. You can't teach someone that. Let's have it right.
Well, I think the first two fights have proven that, mate, haven't they? In fact, the fight with Ortiz proved it as well. Ortiz was winning the fight convincingly until he blew a gasket and had nothing left. The only reason Wilder got to him was because he was tired.
I genuinely think Wilder's doing this for the wrong reasons. I think he's doing it for the money. This is the biggest fight he had left out there. Let's have it right. And I wouldn't be surprised should he get, well, when he gets beat, that could be the last we see Wilder in the ring. Because where did he go?
Nowhere, mate. Nowhere. I mean, he's obviously hoping for a massive payday. But if you don't start talking in press conferences, he ain't going to get a big payday. Because for me, he's the one that needs to be building this fight up. He's the one that needs to be proving he's bringing something different to the table. Because Fury's beat him in a boxing match in the first fight when he was coming off of being 10 stone overweight, you know, not really properly boxing trained. But he took it anyway and schooled Wilder for the whole fight.
I mean, he's been putting a lot out there on social media, hasn't he, about Fury cheated, his gloves have been tampered with, his gloves were loaded. Well, I know if that was me going into a third fight believing I got cheated out the second, you'd have a lot more fire in your stomach, wouldn't you?
You'd have a lot to say as well, wouldn't you? You come into that press conference firing.
Yeah,
he's made a lot of allegations and not proved any of them. That's the thing.
Yeah. I just thought it was a very, very poor performance by Deontay Wilder. You know, it worked for Steve Collins against Eubank when he sat in the corner with his headphones on, but that was a very different scenario, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
I don't get it. You know, if he had any confidence before that press conference, I'm not sure he's got any after. You know, and to then stand there eye to eye for God knows how long it was. Why would you do that? Having just not answered any questions.
Makes no sense, does it? Makes no sense. He wants to try and puff his chest out and act the tough guy when it comes to a stare down, but he has absolutely nothing to say when questions are put to him. Tyson Fury's making him look stupid with some of the things he's saying, and Wilder says absolutely nothing in response.
Yeah. I just can't come up with a case. I know I've said this on previous shows. I can't see a way how Wilder beats him because, like we've said before, he won the first fight, Tyson Fury, for me, where Tyson gave him a boxing lesson, in my view. The second one, Fury went straight through him. And to use Fury's words at the press conference, he likened it, the third fight, to having an 18-wheel vehicle running over you. I think he finishes it even earlier. I do.
The one thing Deontay Wilder has before a fight is passion. He comes in, he's quite an angry man at times, isn't he? He bullies people a little bit, in fact. You see it when people are trying to interview him. He'll kind of intimidate him a little bit, and you saw none of that. I saw no passion, nothing that made me think that there's anything there. There's anything left. I don't know whether he thinks he's playing a cool game, and he's just not going to do anything till the night of the fight. That's not building a fight up, and that's not going to get him any money.
Yeah,
because nobody's going to buy the fight if you don't.
Probably the only own goal that Tyson scored during that press conference was when he said to Malik Scott, was it words to the effect of, "You wasn't a great boxer and you're not a great coach." Words that effect.
Something like that. He also said, "You couldn't beat me."
Yeah.
And we were talking about sparring. You couldn't beat me. How'd you expect to be able to train Deontay Wilder to beat me? So that was a bit naughty, really, from Fury, because he kind of left himself in a bit of a hole because he's got a coach that's not a great was not a great boxer himself.
No.
You all right, Ray?
Not too bad, gents.
We just started off, mate. We're just talking about the Wilder Fury press conference, or lack of it. Do you want to give us your opinion of Wilder's lack of interest and lack of enthusiasm for this press conference?
I think he's trying to give the impression that he wants to do all his talking in the ring by just staying silent. And, the stare down was intense. But I don't think, I said before on the show, it doesn't matter who trains him, we're not going to see too much of a different Deontay Wilder. I'm on a particular group on Facebook which is heavy on representation for Americans, and they're thinking, he's going to be the second coming. He's going to turn up and he's going to do a job on Tyson Fury. I just can't.
Where are they getting that? Where are they getting that perception?
Well, a lot of them are still saying that Fury cheated, and one guy came at me and said, but he couldn't draw blood from Otto Varlin. So how on earth did he not? How on earth did he put on the performance against Deontay Wilder? Not giving any indication about the physical side of Tyson Fury. The fact that Tyson Fury was fitter against Wilder than he was against Otto Varlin, not considering any of that. I think it's just blown him away that Deontay Wilder got beaten in the fashion that he did.
So, Cedric, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me again.
Good afternoon, where you are. So Cedric, did you see the press conference between Fury and Wilder? And obviously you've got extensive knowledge of coaching boxers. What was your view on Wilder's demeanour? Because he didn't look like a very angry person to me.
There's only so much we can judge by what we're seeing, but he looked like he was focused. But again, we've seen that look with a lot of fighters over the years, and it doesn't always come out the same way. Like the intentions, we know the intentions are there, He looks like he's focused. He didn't get all crazy yelling, like they both usually do. But I just came on when Ray was talking, so I just going off what he said. I agree. It's very limited time between your last match that you kind of took a beating in, and Tyson Fury's skills are up there, and he's a much bigger man too. With that being said, we all know Wilder still has that one punch knockout power, but Fury showed last time that he can outbox that. So if he can do that again, of course, I'm assuming he can do that again. So we'll see. And again, we just still have to be careful of that one punch knockout power that Wilder has. Very few boxers in the sport today have that. Whether you could say him or Triple G or whoever, Tank. Not too many guys have one punch knockout power. So you still have to be careful of that. So I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Fury. I think he's still going to have to think and be careful. But yeah, I think he's still pull it up.
Cedric, I'm interested in your opinion on this. We've talked about it quite a bit on the show. Do you think that up until Fury, Wilder's had pretty much of an easy ride as a world champion?
Yeah, and he's never had a reason to doubt himself.
No, because
as he says, it was his famous saying, when people fight me, they have to be perfect for 12 rounds. I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds. And for 90% of his fights, this was true. And so, not that I'm not sure if you guys saw his I always try to look at guys' backgrounds, amateur background. He did win a bronze medal at the Olympics. I don't know if it was all by knockouts, but just that confidence. He went to the highest level as an amateur, even though he started young. Since the day he started boxing, he's been able to increase levels just off of one punch. So just that mentality, he's never had until Fury. You're right. Until Fury, he's never had a reason to not say that this is the way that he was gonna make it. So he's had that reality check, the big reality check, and I'm very curious to see how he's gonna perform. In his training, I'm seeing him, do different things, different things on the pads and stuff like that. But again, it's one thing to do it on the pads and the next thing to apply it in a real situation when there's real fire coming back at you. So I'm very curious to see. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Cedric, I reckon he's living rent-free in Deontay Wilder's head. That's what I think. I think he looked a broken man. I don't know what the headphones were all about. Surely, if it was your fighter, you'd want to see a bit of a spot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but again, I don't know. One of my favorite fighters. Just hearing a story about him, Roy Jones Jr. When he got disqualified against Montel Griffin, I remember hearing his coach telling the story that in the locker room before, usually they have music playing and stuff like that. And he said, there was no music playing. They were just nice and calm, not nice and calm, but Roy Jones was serious. He wasn't really talking to anybody. So I don't know. I'm just going by, He got embarrassed the last time he fought. Ever since then, he's been sort of quiet. Well, after all the excuses, after that he was quiet. He's been quiet on social media. Hasn't said nothing. The only thing he's really done is post videos of him training. So maybe he is more focused. So again, I'm curious to see if this is actually going to play out in the fight. But I don't know. I'm not. I don't know.
I worry for him. I just don't believe you can change your character that much of a swing. That's a big swing, isn't it, in terms of personality, going from that to that, from being loud, brash, outspoken, even a bit crazy, to going to just sitting there with your head down, headphones on.
Well, getting your ass kicked is a very humbling experience. So again, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to talk trash to the person that beat your ass last time you faced him.
But he's still talking about decapitating him and all that crap, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess. Like, that's what I mean. I guess he's he seems more focused. Again, if that's going to actually play out physically in the fight, I don't know, but his demeanor is showing that he is more focused. How about that? He's showing that he's more focused.
Has it changed your view in how the fight goes?
Just that you still have to be careful of that bomb right hand. That's the only thing. I mean, even if the fight continued, I tell all my fighters, because I'm a defensive coach first. Even if you have a guy against the ropes like this, and the referee standing there about to jump in, we've seen it before. A guy can just be like this and just throw a random punch and land something. Wilder has that power to land that. So that's all I'm saying. Fury could have him boom, boom, right before the referee came in. He could have landed one of them overhand rights. I'm glad the referee came in and stopped it, because it would have got worse if Fury would have been allowed to continue on. But again, you still have to. So I'm predicting Fury winning. I'm not sure if he's going to stop him though. I think I'm picking Fury by decision, unanimous decision, if it goes the distance.
With your experience, Cedric, if you was Wilder's coach, how would you set a game plan up to beat Fury?
Wow.
That's the very tough question, especially when you're winning one way the whole time. Jabs, and more jabs, and trying to catch jabs to try to set up the one punch that you have, instead of just relying on throwing it. Try setting it up like how Klitschko used to bore people with the jab, that boom, and then boom out of nowhere. So that's, especially again, it's not like we have a couple of tune-up fights to work on these things. We're stepping right back into the fire. So if we're working on the one thing that has to be there is your jab. You cannot, against someone that's bigger than you and a better boxer than you. You can't just think you're just going to walk around and just wait for one big bomb. In the first fight he landed, he did knock him down in the first, earlier in the earlier rounds, and then again in the 12th. But that's not, you don't want to just rely on that, especially when your opponent has confidence of soundly beating you the first time. So the number one thing that I'd be working on is that jab and stamina, because when you do get hurt, one of the best things to recover is the better conditioning that you're in, the faster you can recover. So the number one and number two things, the jab. Number two is catching the defense, and then the third one just making sure that your conditioning is up in case you do get caught again. Those are the three things that I'd work on with Wilder if I was his coach.
And then just moving on to another topic, lads. We didn't get Cedric's view on the Ritson stoppage.
Oh man.
So Cedric, obviously you always says the strap line for yourself is safety first. We've just come off a pre-recorded video with an ex-British Boxing Board of Control referee that will be landing on the channel probably Friday in the UK. Give us your view whether you think that was a good stoppage, too early, he took too many shots. Give us your view.
Okay, well, before I say that, has the referee explained himself on why he threw away? Yes. What did he? I'm just curious to know what he said.
What he said was he felt as though Ritson had something to give. He said if it was a headshot, he would have stopped it. He said because he was this close away from Ritson, he felt as though Ritson had something to give. He felt as though it was premature, so he exercised his right to let Ritson continue.
But Ray, the corner, Dave Ritson did say that Lewis Ritson wasn't right from the first round, didn't he? From when he took them body shots in the first round.
Owen Ray said that.
Right.
However, what Cedric said was, did the referee explain himself? And that's what the referee said.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just thought I'd give a bit of a wider context, Raymondo. Okay.
Yeah. But it was all about what the thing said, what the ref said, not with the way that context.
What he's saying is, Cedric, what he's saying is ignore the input that I've just put in and just stick to Ray's.
Just stick to the referee, what the referee said, yeah.
Yeah, Ray won't be on from next week, by the way.
Well, exactly what you just said. Ritson took a good body shot in that first round.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was just playing catch up from that moment. He was in the fight, but it just seemed the ratio was just too much. Like it seemed like between Ponce, it was like almost like a 6-3 difference.
Yeah.
You know, Ritson would come with a good 3-punch combination, and Ponce would just come back with like six more, and it just seemed like it was that ratio back and forth, right up until the end of it. Like if there was any rounds that I did give to Ritson, they were very close, if any. And so for that reason, that's another reason why I was very, very angry with the ref, because if it was a situation where Ritson was winning the whole fight and maybe he just got caught and it was, the last round and he's just trying to help him survive. I mean, he'd still kind of get in trouble for that, but I could see that situation happening. But I think Ritson was clearly winning. I mean, clearly losing on the scorecards. It didn't look like I don't know. I just watched a few of his fights before, but to my knowledge, I don't think he's one of those fighters that has like one punch knockout that can change a whole fight. And so when I saw that, I literally had to take a double take and say, like, I don't know what just happened, but I didn't even know that's illegal. I didn't know the referee was allowed to refuse the towel as the coach, that's his father too.
Yeah.
The referee might have reffed his fights before, but there's no person that knows the fighter better than the coach or his father. Like, so for that reason, like, the fight should have been stopped then. And I don't know. I don't know what penalty I would have taken, but I would have had a few choice words for that referee after letting him, because he threw away the towel. Then what exactly happened? 10 seconds later, he took another 8 count and gave him an 8 count and let him continue again after that.
Yeah, and what Cedric, what that ex-referee told us was it's not normal practice for a referee to go into the changing rooms after a bout as well. So that speaks volumes, don't it? That the ref felt he needed to go in and explain himself.
Yes, again, I understand the rules and stuff. I'm just always thinking, as much as we love seeing knockouts the right way, as I like to say it, but I don't know. I thought that fight should have been stopped. So there was no, and the commission was okay with that, with the referee not throwing in the towel.
Yeah,
no, nothing's come out to say otherwise.
But it wouldn't do, would it? We won't learn. Even if there's an internal investigation going off on the British Boxing Board of Control, we're not necessarily going to read about it.
Okay, I don't know, man. If I ever had one of my fighters there, I definitely would ask to have in the contract that if the corner throws in the towel, that the fight be stopped, or at least for my fighter. The other corner wants to let their fight go in there and take more damage, that's on them. But for me, I need to have in that contract that if I want to stop the fight should be stopped for my fighter's safety.
Yeah, because Andy and Ray did a bit of a live Saturday night after the show, and for once, he actually had a bit of a different opinion on this one, didn't you, boys?
He did.
They actually allowed each other to have an opinion for once. So I'll let you take it away, boys, and what your views were.
Go ahead.
I pretty much agreed with you, Cedric. I thought he was a bit disgraceful from the referee. Go on then, Ray. Let's have your opinion on.
No, I didn't think it was. Like I said, in some rules, it can only be the referee that stopped the fight. The referee is the closest person to the action. If he felt as though Richard could have continued for a bit more, he could have done. I mean, we've seen it's happened before. I gave an example of a fight where it's happened before. And in that particular fight, that fighter was eventually saw out the round and was stopped later on. But it's happened before. No doubt it'll probably happen again. It's a rarity.
I guess it goes by the fighter. Sorry, I apologize for cutting you off. Finish what you were saying.
Yeah, for me, if the referee wants to make a call, it's not an absolute disaster. It's not like because sometimes you get referees and the waive a fight off, and you think that fighter wasn't taking any damage at all. Sometimes they leave it. These are all judgment calls, and at the end of the day, they're in there. You got to remember how close you are to the action. Lockdown was the closest we saw or heard how hard these guys actually hit. Got to remember, Cedric, us three, for example, aren't in a position that you're in where we're physically seeing professional boxers and hearing them landing shots on each other up close. So for the most Joe blogs, they don't actually know how hard these guys hit. They don't know how, you know. And I always give the example of the Meldrick Taylor Chavez Jr. fight. Chavez Senior fight, where Meldrick Taylor looked as though he was running away with that fight. But actually, every time he was coming inside against Chavez Senior, he was taking in a hell of a beating from those body shots. Do you understand? And a lot of people don't see it. They just thought, okay, Meldrick Taylor, he's doing what he's doing. He's fast hands, fast feet. He's on the inside. So what I'm saying is, you don't realize the accumulation of the damage. Sometimes that's been happening, and sometimes we think there's been damage done when actually there's not. And the referee has a good view of that. So if the referee thinks Ritson, you know, from what he's sounding like, he's not making any noises when he's being hit, that would indicate he's hurt. He seems to be all right. What Steve Gray clearly said was, if I'd been headshots and he was reacting, then I would have accepted it. But with the body shots, he looked as though he was okay. You know, he looked as though his eyes were still there. He could have got up. He looked as though he still had his wits about him and allowed it to continue. So he's made a judgment. It's a bit like scoring a round for a judge. You know, we can all say that's a 10-9 round to Ponce, but somebody might have said, oh, that was a 10-9 round to Ritson. It's subjective in there. So we might have seen something objective, but if it's subjective, really, that's what my argument is.
The way you explain that, I definitely see the way you see it. You know, I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, fair one.
But again, so just to be clear, the referee didn't break any rules, so you know you can't get mad.
No.
So I understand that.
I think it further demonstrates what a tough gig a ref has got, haven't they? Because should they stop it too early? We all jump up and down saying, stopped it too early. Should it go a bit too long? It's all subjective, you know.
The thing, Carl, the thing there was that was a good opportunity for the ref not to have to make the decision, because the corner made it for him. The only reason we've got the controversy is because he ignored what the corner wanted.
I always and again, because the consequences are so rough in our sport, I always tell my boxers, because I've had a few boxers tell me myself, like, hey man, Cedric, you know, I don't want you to stop the fight. I'll be very mad at you if you stop the fight. You know, Carl, I said this to you too. And one thing that I say, and there's usually no comeback to this, is I say, I'd rather you be mad at me for stopping it too early rather than me coming to visit you in the hospital because I stopped it too late. Right? So that's the only thing that's in the back of my mind. I understand totally. I'm looking like, he looks like he can take some more. I understand that. But like, if you cross that line where he can't take no more,
no way back.
Those consequences, there's no way back from that. So that's just my argument.
But then the only thing I'll say is the fighters, they know that when they step in the ring.
You're right.
You know, from the likes of Nick Blackwell, Jerry McClelland, Michael Watson. Yes. You know, it's not as if the boxers aren't aware of that when they jump in the ring. But there's another. They know that can happen. They know that can happen. And the only person that can really stop themselves from becoming that is themselves. Rule number one from fighting from my day, and it ain't changed. You got to defend yourselves at all time, and that's down to the boxers. When they touch gloves at the start of a fight, that's what the referee says. The referee will tell you the instructions, you know, to fight clean, where to punch, and defend yourselves at all times. So you can't always rely on somebody else.
You're right.
Ray, all I would say to that, Ray, though, and again, it's all about opinions. Sometimes the fighters need saving from themselves.
Well, there's that saying, you know, and I've said it before, where you don't fear a brave fighter, you fear a brave corner. But you know, because at the end of the day, the fighters have got to defend themselves, and if they're not defending themselves, then somebody has to do it for them. But if the referee made a decision, he could go and continue. The referees made that decision. As long as the referees can be accountable, and to be fair to Steve Gray, he made himself accountable. He didn't hide from that decision. No. He went as a man in the dressing room and said, "Look, I made this decision because X, Y, and Z." If you think you made a bad decision, at least you owned up to it. Yeah, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah. And to adding to what Carl said about saving a fighter from themselves, sometimes you got to do that because, of course, Ritson and every other fighter would say, you know, if the referee asks them, "Are you okay?" Of course, your pride is making you say yes. We've seen situations where a guy can't even stand up straight, but he's looking at the referee saying, "Yeah, I can continue."
I mean, Khan says it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, in cases like that, you gotta. Those are the cases where you have to be careful for. That's all. So you're right. They do understand the consequences of what might happen when they step in there. You know, again, you have that thin line between. That's what the coaches and the referees are there, right, to save.
And it's a damn thin line, right? It's a real thin line.
Because that's what I was gonna say too. Because if the fighter says no, I don't want to continue, then what? Everyone's gonna call him a quitter and go off on him like that, right? So sometimes they might want to quit, but they know the consequences of people coming at them from quitting is a whole different ballgame, right?
Well, Lewis Ritson was never ever going to quit that night because he was in front of his own fans.
Yeah, exactly.
His boxing stable, everyone he's grown up with. I mean, Ray's from the area. Ray will tell you what it's like up there. Everyone knows everyone. You know, the whole city's a family atmosphere. That's right, isn't it, Ray?
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's a really welcoming community, and Lewis is a really big deal up there for those fans. You know,
which is probably the reason why the referee tried to let him continue to at least finish the fight. Yeah,
maybe so for the crowd and for the occasion and whatever. Quite clearly, his dad was trying to save him for another day.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and that's why I said to the boys on Saturday, it'd be interesting to see what your views on it, Cedric, because even we've just been talking about Fury, Wilder, I don't have a problem with the referee even giving you more time. So you get knocked down, bearing in mind you're the WBC champion, or you're a world champion of a legitimate belt. The referee counts to 8, you get up. He allows you to walk to the opposite corner. He asks you if you're okay. Or he asks you if you're okay, and then he allows you to walk. I haven't got a problem with that. People will say, "Oh, he's allowed him too much time. I've counted that. That's 16 seconds, or that's 18 seconds." I don't have a problem with that. If you're talking about top fights, where there's a lot at stake, not just someone fighting against a 6-rounder, I don't have a problem with a referee allowing you as much time as possible to prove that you're all right.
So you mean giving not just the 8 count, but giving a little extra time for the person?
Well, yeah, because that's clearly we've seen it in. So, for example, Josh Taylor when he fought Ramirez is an example. Ramirez got extra time. Fury against Wilder, extra time. We all, this is the thing. It's even. I guess what I'm trying to say is even the 8 count, the 10 count isn't consistent.
You're right. Yeah.
You can look at when Tyson was floored, and the Buster Douglas, the Buster Douglas as well. These are long counts. These are long counts. Even that's not consistent. So, it's subjective. People say, is it 10 seconds or just a human count to 10? So, and I don't want to be a hypocrite, which is why I'm not jumping all over Steve Gray.
So, what would your suggestion be? Just like.
My suggestion would be as soon as somebody touches the canvas for it to be a timed sort of.
It is right. It is right. There's somebody sat on the outside of the ring telling the referee what the
but then the referee takes over, so it'll be timed, and then the referee takes over. So you'll see the referee go, and then the referee go 3, 4, 5. 6, but that's at a human count. So my point is, you eliminate that. Somebody hits it. Somebody hits a deck. The standing fighter goes to the neutral corner. The ref's at the other corner, and there's a count given. That's more consistent than a human. Count.
It'll be easy to do because all you need is sensors on the map.
Yep.
But then you decide which fights you would use that for and which fights you wouldn't use that for.
Title fights.
Title fights. And there's a title in every weight class, seems like nowadays.
Yeah.
It's title fights. Well, it's the same. I mean, we could go on for all night and we'll go on digressing, but clearly they pick and choose which fights they want to do drug testing.
Be careful what you wish for, though, Ray. Be careful what you wish for, because people were saying that about VAR, and now it's coming to football, and it's an absolute disaster.
There you go. So at least boxing, the thing with subjectivity is it creates debate.
It does.
We're still talking about it now, and that's one of the reasons why I love the sport. You know, But,
so before we start worrying about 10 counts, we need to start worrying about judges and scorecards.
Yeah, we're ground up.
Well, on that cheery note, I think we better move on to Shakur Stevenson, don't you? So
yeah, go on.
Cedric, did you watch that fight, Cedric?
I did.
Take it away.
I definitely was expecting. I was expecting. Even though Stevenson is not one to press the issue against guys that shouldn't be in there with you, you should try to you should use those fights as showcase fights. His opponent Nakil, I apologize for not pronouncing his name properly. Watched a few of his last fights. His last fight, he got stopped by a guy who looked like he was a B- level fighter. I'm pretty sure he got stopped by him. So I was expecting Stevenson to come with a highlight reel knockout. But he fought him is curious because he barely got touched. But the way he was fighting him, he fought him like as if he was fighting someone that had like one punch KO power that he had to really make sure to be careful for, which was definitely not the case. So I was, again, even though I'm a defensive coach and he barely got touched, I felt that he definitely could have pressed the issue to put it on him more. So just disappointed in that aspect.
And
I see what Cedric's saying, but I think Stevenson just fought within himself. He knew he didn't have to do any more than he did.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if he wanted to make a statement to the division, then he maybe should have put it on him. But that's not his style.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, he was fighting the way he fights, and I mean, like you say, the guy didn't touch him. He won every round without getting out of second gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's got so much more there, and you'll see this. I think when he comes up against tougher fighters, you're gonna see his skill set then. I think he's real quality.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even break sweat.
No.
Ray?
I think he's the best prospect coming out of the USA at the moment for me. He's a wonderful talent. I've got to agree where Andy's coming from. I don't think he got out of first gear. I would say I think he cruised through it. I think his mind, instead of going for a kill, I think he is naturally conservative. What I mean by that is I can get a shutout, because for me he won every second of every round, and that's a slight difference between Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson in their development. Whereas Shakur Stevenson can just think, I'm just going to stick to my strengths. Why engage and mix it up? Don't forget the crowd were booing him.
Yeah.
And there's that temptation to mix it up on the inside, get caught. He decided, no, I'm still going to play to my strengths, even with the crowd booing you. That shows some maturity. That shows calmness. That shows a level of confidence, I would say, not to be overawed by the occasion. Devin Haney, although he's got ability, he lacked that for me. And that's the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's plenty more from Shakur Stevenson. And he did come out and say, incidentally, guys, that the guy did carry power. And you can feel it when you're in there in the ring. You know yourselves when you've been in the ring. When somebody's got a bit more power than you, you don't want to mix it up too much. Yeah. That's probably what he thought. He probably thought this guy could probably take him out. So he showed, again, as I was saying, confidence. He also showed discipline, and you've got to give him props for that. I I think this kid could go on and do something special. I really do.
Yeah. I like the kid. I agree with some of the points made when they're booing him. To have the temperament to just stick to the game plan.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Very impressive.
Sorry, Paul.
We've seen in the past where fighters have been booed, especially some I think about in the UK, and then they decide to have a trade up, to satisfy the crowd.
That's it.
He's in a very sexy division, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I agree. I don't like to often agree with Ray too much, but I do think that he might just be the biggest prospect coming out of the US at the minute. Very level-headed, speaks well. I think he might just be the real deal.
I have one concern, lads. Exciting fighters make money. Exciting fighters sell pay-per-view tickets. If he fights like that consistently, he's not going to make any money and he's not going to make a name.
He's only a baby, though, isn't he?
No, I know. But if we're saying that that's his style and that's how he's always going to fight, then he needs to consider that he may end up being another Andre Ward.
Floyd Mayweather wasn't exactly poor, was he?
No. But he wasn't an arsehole name, Ray. Andre Ward should have been absolute gold dust.
You're talking about the commercial side of Ander.
Yeah, I am. It should be. Andre Ward should have been absolute gold. He should have been the next Sugar Ray. In the loved by all Americans because he was that good.
Yeah.
Because of his defensive style and the fact he used to lock out fights. I mean, look at the fight with Froch. He won that convincingly, but it was the most boring fight ever because he didn't allow Froch to engage. He's that good to someone that we hail as a really good super middleweight. My point is that Froch gets more pundits from the British public than he gets.
Ward gets from the Americans. Yeah,
100%.
If you did a poll in America, he won't come up as one of the best fighters in America in the poll because he doesn't have that razzmatazz, that kind of glitz. Yeah, and I'm a little bit concerned that this same thing could happen.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. I think for some guys, it's just not in their personality to be out there like that. Whether it's being more enthusiastic on the microphone or just being busier in the ring, So just in a case like Andre Ward, I think he himself, he's probably okay with finishing his career with 15 million in his bank account as opposed to maybe 45 or 50 that he could have made if he was more outgoing, right? So I agree with you 100% in what you're saying is that he won't make that much more money, but I think the reason why is because sometimes, like some guys like Andre Ward, and I'm not sure if Stevenson, maybe he will. He's still young. Maybe he'll get more mature and be a little bit busier. But maybe just some guys just don't have it in their personality to be out there like that and take more chances. Because again, Andre Ward, he hasn't. You can say that first Kovalev fight was very, very close, but other than that, he basically hasn't lost a fight since he was 12 years old. And so, yeah, he should be looked at as one of the all-time greats just for what he's accomplished.
And he scored Carl Froch. It hurts me to say it because it's from where we live, but he absolutely scored him. Carl Froch didn't have a clue what to do in that fight. Really, so you're right, the commercial side of it, but he's only young, Inter, so
Again, and I'm always, you guys are probably going to get tired of me saying this. Anytime, well, not you guys didn't bring up the youngness, but like anytime someone says, a young fighter is this is the way he is and he's never going to change, I always have to come back to Canelo. Remember when Canelo was 22, 23, the whole world made up excuses saying he was too young and wasn't ready yet, and give him some time, right? So let's give him some time. Not that you guys are on Stevenson like that, but just in general.
And also, Floyd Mayweather didn't knock many people out during the tail end of his career. His mouth was very good.
Yeah.
His fights were a bit boring, wasn't
That's my whole point, Cole. That's what made Floyd all his money.
they? Yeah.
His talking, his marketing himself. Yeah, definitely. That definitely
I mean,
helps.
he's definitely got time to develop that. He's just with the wrong promoter. And that's going to be the problem for me going forward. Top Rank have got some good talent, whether it be Inoue, Lopez, Taylor, Stevenson. They have got some good talent. It's just how Bob Arum and the organization choose to promote them.
Yeah, I mean,
when people talk about Stevenson's age, another spin-off to what Cedric's saying is Teofimo Lopez. Look what he's achieved and he's the same age.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and Lopez, and look what Lopez has achieved at the same age.
Yeah, and also, as well, Lopez is a great talker, isn't he?
He is. He's a very good talker. So there's that. I think they all do develop, and I think I know where Carl's coming from with the age thing, but also you've got the likes of where was Mike Tyson at that same age, where was Amir Khan at that same age.
But Tyson had Don King behind him doing all the talking. I'm not sure that Bob Arum has got the energy to push this guy out in front of the cameras.
And that's what I was saying about 5 minutes ago. That, he's got some of the best prospects in the world under his banner.
Yeah.
But he's not up to date with the way fighters are marketed in the modern day.
No, I know Eddie Hearn called him out, didn't he, to retire recently on an interview.
Well, I think he should, essentially.
Can you just imagine what DAZN and Matchroom would do with the likes of Lopez?
Yeah. And Josh Taylor.
And Josh Taylor.
I mean, New York, because the boy, I know he's from Honduras, but New York would not have seen anything like it because he's a native of Brooklyn. He puts on a show in Madison Square Garden, gets Lopez headlining it. All my days, you wouldn't have seen anything like it.
Josh Taylor in Scotland, can you imagine that build up? If it's
in Edinburgh or in Glasgow, the SEN Arena in Glasgow, or the Hydro, whatever it's called.
I'd argue, Ray, it's probably a stadium fight if he gets a decent lead in time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the right promoter, you're right. You're dead right. Eddie could turn any top end fighter into another Anthony Joshua and fill a stadium of 90,000. He can do that because that's his style.
But these are the conversations we tend to have with regarding Eddie Hearn and what he can do. We don't really have these with the likes of Frank Warren, who we'll probably touch on in a minute, and Bob Arum, and that's a shame. It's like their school, they've graduated and done whatever, and they're gone. We're not talking about the new school and the likes of Eddie Hearn, and that's the leading light. And it's just a shame because obviously Bob will be there and Warren will be there, and they'll always have talents. But for me, they'll start off at Warren and Arum, and they'll end up with him.
Well, there's almost a two-tier system now, right, in the promotional game in the UK. It's almost like, dare I say, Warrens of this world, Ennis's of this world, are almost feeder promoters.
That's it for her. Yeah, that's it.
It's a bit like Newcastle United to Liverpool, you're the feeder. When I think about Wijnaldum and people like that, but that's a private joke for the UK fans. But we have got a tier system now, haven't we, in the promoting world? Because Josh Taylor, let's have it right, must be on a lot of money with Top Rank. And, the little things that concern me is, will he end up a bit like James DeGale, where he's on a good contract, a good promotional contract. He's earning a lot of money clearly out in the States, but he's fighting in front of very small audiences, probably a lot on TV. But then when it comes to time for him to come back and have a homecoming that he kept the interest wasn't there, his profile wasn't there.
Yeah.
Hey, this is able to build up his fighters. He's fighting in front of small crowds that don't care about him.
No. DeGale Badu Jack, what a fight that was. What a fight that was.
Unbelievable. unbelievable fight.
And how many do you reckon was in that auditorium?
And none of them cared, neither in the auditorium. That's my point. And then the girl comes home to what should have been a massive homecoming and never got one. And Josh Taylor, unfortunately, is going to end up in the same boat. And I hate it because we spoke about this. Josh Taylor should be hailed as one of Britain's best ever fighters.
Yeah, that was a big accomplishment. Him unifying that title the other week, that was big. That should have been one of the biggest news.
It wasn't on any of the main broadcastings in the UK. Not one.
Crazy.
I don't even think it was on the back of the papers, was it?
No.
Guys, sorry to cut you off. I gotta get going now. I gotta go train.
Cedric, appreciate
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Having you on, Cedric.
Have a good afternoon. Speak to you later.
See you. Bye now.
So I think that's an opportune moment to come on to a UK-related promotional deal. So I think it's time now that we touch on the Sky new deal with Top Rank and Boxer.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Andy, do you want to kick off on this one? Give us your thoughts about what you think. I'll just give you a bit of context that I've researched today.
Okay.
So Top Rank, the way they're describing the deal is Top Rank have said that Sky will serve as a home for Top Rank's US events in UK and Ireland. It's going to be 18 international fight nights, which equates to roughly 100 boxing hours. And that come from Sky Sports Managing Director Jonathan Litch, I think is pronounced his name. So what's your thoughts?
Okay, so we saw the last ever Matchroom card at the weekend from Newcastle. And I don't think at any point did they mention, and they're not going to, are they? I don't think at any point did they mention Matchroom. In fact, the first thing that came on the screen was the Top Rank deal. And they kept on popping up the 3 fights that are coming up. You know, the Stevenson fight, what's the name of the guy that said Lance? Yeah. And then Lomachenko as the third fight. And they kept, and I lost count of how many times, every time a fight finished, they went straight back to it. I think Sky getting a bit desperate. They're scared of the situation. And I think this is a knee-jerk reaction, taking Top Rank on and taking these fights on. Because it is what it is. They're basically showing Top Rank's fights at 2 and 3 in the morning. And there's going to be no glitz and glam the way it's promoted by Matchroom. There's going to be none of that. It's going to be a case of, okay, let's switch to America. Okay, let's share the headline fight. Okay, that's it. Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming. And that's going to be, unfortunately, I hate to say it, that's going to be a lot of Sky's budget gone. It's not going to leave a lot for Saturday shows starting at 7 o'clock.
Well, just before Ray jumps in, talking about the Boxer deal, BOXXER, by the way, what they've said that is Sky Sports backing grassroots boxing in the UK.
What does that mean?
They're doing a launch event in August where I understand we're going to learn a bit more. They're calling it the Partnership Launch event in August, where I'm assuming they're going to put a bit more meat on the bones. I am trying to get someone from Boxer to come on to chat about it, but the chance of that is probably remote until August. So we've been spoiled, haven't we, in a way, you know, with the Matchroom days. I think Eddie's done a damn good job. If you're watching Eddie Hearn, you know my number. So,
good luck with that one.
Yeah, I might need it. But 18 international fight nights in a year doesn't feel a lot, does it?
No,
it doesn't feel a lot.
No, it's less than fortnightly that.
And then to throw into the mix that it's going to be 3 o'clock start times as well. You know, as much as we're hardcore fans, there's not what I'd say is we don't do it for some of the cards. You look at them and you think, really.
Well, you look at 99% of the cards and you think that.
Especially the quality of the undercard.
Yeah.
It's only, you're only getting 2 fights, remember. I mean, at the weekend, Stevenson fight, it was the main fight, and then Jose Zepeda.
Yeah, it worries me that we got a bit of a role reversal going on here, because for the last 20 years, let's say, we've almost, not mocking the American fight ban, but we've often said to people that have come on here from Canada, boxing in the UK is a whole night event, 7, 8, 9 fights. It's a whole event. Whereas why is it in America that you only get the main event? Well, my concern is that a bit of a role reversal now, where maybe we're only going to get a couple of fights, yet they're going to fill the boots.
Well, we are only going to get a couple of fights, aren't we? Because Sky have probably only done enough of a deal to pay for 2 fights. Thinking about it like that, they've probably taken this Top Rank deal, but said to Top Rank, "Well, we can only afford this." And Top Rank have gone, "Okay, fair enough. Well, we're not going to show you the whole card then. You can have 2 fights."
Let me flip that on its head then. It could well be that Sky says there won't be enough interest in that undercard in the UK. We're already asking our viewers to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then to throw fights on that nobody knows. We only want the top 2.
Maybe.
That's what I think they've done.
Maybe.
Go on then, Ray. Give us your spin.
The boxer one is the one with more intrigue for me, because I think the Top Rank one is what it is. I think it was the only caliber ones they could get, because Wasserman still haven't got any fighters yet. Everyone else seemed to be tied up. So we knew Top Rank had some room for expansion, so it didn't come as no surprise. Plus, they have got, on the other hand, they have got some decent fighters, some fighters that can get excited about. However, it isn't just the fighters; it's this. Bob Arum's fighters never really fight anyone, or rarely fight anyone outside of Top Rank. That's a problem for me. It's an in-house. They're very in-house stable. Yeah. And they're not the only ones, and that's going to be the problem going forward. So that's why the 4-year deal kind of shocks me, because that's a big commitment.
Yeah,
for the standard of fights that Top Rank are going to offer. But just to finish off there, the boxer thing is going to be of intrigue, because when they're talking about you're relying on boxer filling in the UK schedule. If you're only doing 18 shows from America, you need to be making sure you're getting a lot out of boxer. And boxer, I mean, I don't know whether you guys saw, you probably did. They did a similar tournament to MTK on Channel 5.
Yeah.
I think it was called Ultimate Champion or whatever. You had Paulie Malignaggi commentating, that kind of stuff. So if it's going to be things like that, they're going to have to get. My worry is they're going to get a lot of fighters that are 4-0, 5-0, fighters that have lost, been big names in the past but lost the last 6. I think it's just going to be a mix up of those, which again, I'll watch, but the casual fan ain't going to watch, and that's my worry. That's my worry about where it goes.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to afford.
Ultimate Boxer, it was called, Ray, on Channel 5.
Yeah, I knew it was Ultimate something, but yeah.
Do you think that's the way they'll go? It'll be a tournament-based event?
I think they will put on tournaments. I don't think it'll be on all the time, no. But I think that's the type of thing that they'll put on, because obviously they did that on Channel 5. So if they're moving on to Sky, they'll think that was successful and they'll want it on Sky. But I think these are the type of fights that they'll have on, central areas, a British one at best. I just gone in the days where we would see, the all Friday night fight nights and see the build up in good domestic derbies and that type of stuff. When I was growing up as a kid, that's how I got to know the Smith family. Yeah, because they were always on these on Sky. They weren't on a Saturday night. They were built up on a Friday, and then once we went to the European title stage, they went on the on the main night on the Saturday. That's how I got to know my boxers. Kevin Mitchell, John Murray, Matthew Macklin, Darren Barker. Obviously, when he came back from Sky and that type of stuff. So even Kel Brooks being on some of these, that's when he fought McIntyre for the British title. These are the type of fights that, the British fans want to be seeing. The likes of Jason Booth, as you can tell, I can go on all night. But I don't think we will see that caliber even. I think we might get the odd prospect who turns out to be great, but I don't even think we're going to get people like Terry Flanagan.
No.
As people, I think we're going to get a standard or two less than that, and that's going to be my worry.
I mean, what I would say, Ray, is the tournament in one night format isn't a new format, is it? Matchroom did that, didn't they?
Prize fighter, yeah.
So, and I think that was moderately successful for the Sky platform. So
what it does, Carl, when you have a tournament in one night scenario, they're all 3-round fights. It's exciting. Everyone goes for it because they know they're only fighting 3 rounds. Yeah. It's a little bit like, as a comparison, Test match cricket and 20 cricket.
Yeah, 20, yeah.
What I was going to say was, though, Andy, that you'll get away with them every so often, but if you start putting them on frequently, the boxing public will get turned off by them. Because as much as we like it now and again, you wouldn't want it ramming down your throat every week, would you? Because, like you said, they're normally kids that are 2-0 or very early on in their career. And really, it's just a swing fest, isn't it? That's all it is.
Exactly what it is.
I wouldn't want to see that frequently. But I think I know we're going to move on to BT, but it leaves a massive opportunity for BT to develop a lot more market share in terms of British boxing fans. I think if the budget's right that Frank Warren keeps liking to say is available from BT, which he keeps calling the biggest broadcaster in the UK. Surely, for subscriptions and views for that sports channel, surely they throw a few more quid at it now and get some more names. Because when the tree's shaken with these boxers, a lot of boxers are going to fall out of contracts and not having renewed. So I do think there's an opportunity for Frank Warren.
Well, I've got a question for Frank Warren and the public as a general. Then, if BT's got all this money, why has he put on such shite undercards?
Yeah, he's obviously working to a budget. I mean, it depends what his budget is in that great at the minute.
If he's putting like fighters that are 3-0 and 4-0 in four-round fights, for 5 fights, and then you get one decent undercard fight sometimes before a main fight. That's not a broadcaster that's got a lot of money, is it?
No, the point I'm making, though, obviously the door's slightly ajar now, isn't it? In terms of catching up with Sky Sports. Forget DAZN for a minute, because I think they're over the hills and gone. But I'm just talking about in terms of, because let's have it right, a lot of DAZN shows are going to be stateside, yeah, or different territories. So there's that audience there, isn't there? There's that established boxing audience on a Saturday night.
To build in the UK. Yeah, I know where Carl's going.
Yeah, if you put a decent enough card on and you
can capture that market. Yeah.
Correct. And you're a subscription-based TV like BTR, as Del Boy says, speculate to accumulate. Surely it's worth giving Frank Warren a few more quid with the understanding that he goes and gets some quality fighters in his stable to generate them shows.
Yeah, I'll jump in there, and I've got to agree where Carl's coming from, because what he's saying is this is the opportunity for BT to think, hang on, we can get this, because what I'm arguing is Sky won't. If there's going to be any boxing at that time between 7 and 11 at night on a Saturday, it's not going to be quality from Sky. It's going to be the same worse than what BT is showing. So if they give Warren a bit more money, he can make better cards. That's essentially what Carl's saying, and I've got to admit, I've got to agree. For BT, the only way has got to be up from here. If they don't capitalise on this, it's going to be a disaster for BT.
Especially when they've got Champions League football to use as a vehicle. So we're all watching. Well, I know your two clubs that often get them heights, but we all watch Champions League football.
What's Champions League?
Yeah, you're looking to get Premier League. Feel sorry for Andy. But
Exactly.
we all watch Champions League football, don't we? You know, and they already advertised bang average fights after Champions League football. So I just think from a commercial perspective, BT need to seize this opportunity because it's a bit of an open goal.
Do you think BT are a little bit scared to push the budget because of what happened to Satanta?
No.
Here's the issue, right? They threw a lot of money at boxing, and it didn't pay off. Not just boxing, but football as well, and it didn't pay off. There could have been a brilliant rivalry between Sky and BT when it come to boxing. But it never happened because BT can't have that money, otherwise it would have happened.
I think they have got the money. I just don't think. I think they've got one eye on where they're investing it. I mean, there's a reason why Sky haven't given Matchroom the same money as DAZN, isn't there? There's a reason.
Yeah, because they look at the viewership. They look at how many people are watching a Saturday night event, and they do the sums, and they've come up with it's not worth it. I
mean, Frank Warren banged on in that interview where he said BT are now the number one channel in the UK for boxing. He banged on about how Daniel Dubois pulled in the biggest figures on a UK fight night last year. I don't know if that's true or not. Non-pay-per-view, I might add. But then I'd beg the question, if Daniel Dubois is putting them sort of numbers in, why wouldn't BT invest further? So I just, like I say, from a business perspective, I just think BT got a great opportunity to develop their boxing part of the channel.
Carl, can I ask you which Daniel Dubois fights he talking about?
I don't think he mentions the opponent. I think the Joyce fight. I think don't quote me.
I was about to say, is he not on about the Joyce fight there?
Yeah, I think it was a Joyce fight, and
that's understandable if it is the Joyce fight, because that got cancelled. Twice was it?
Yeah.
So that had a massive build up. You know. And Frank Warren was banging on about it. Even after it being cancelled, he was banging on about it in every interview. So it's not surprising it got good numbers. But you don't get good numbers every week, does it? Otherwise, he'd be banging on about that as well.
You could argue, though, that Sky don't get great numbers every week, do they? Because
but this is my whole point. BT are not going to ram a load of money in because they've seen the numbers that Sky do when they were ramming all the money in. Sky have now gone, I'm sorry, Eddie, we can't match what you're getting from your new backers. We're going to have to back out here. Eddie Hearn's alluded to that himself, that it was becoming very, very tight budget-wise because the powers that be were saying it just ain't worth the money.
Well, they reckon it was a shift in priority rather than lack of money, that they're looking at building other sports rather than boxing, because what he says was, if Barney Francis wouldn't have been at the head of Sky at the point of Matchroom getting involved in boxing, it would never have took off because Sky were talking about pulling away then. So what I think's happened now is Barney Francis has gone. So I think Sky, whoever was there before, are not that keen on boxing. So they've pulled the budget back, and that's what I'm talking about. You've still got that audience there, you know, which equates to a very good audience level on a Saturday night. So that's where I'm coming from. Like Callum Johnson versus Anthony Yard, would all watch it. You know, Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yard or Callum Johnson, would watch it.
Proper boxing fans will watch it, Cole. The general public won't.
I'm not so sure if you build them. And that's what I'm talking about.
The general public don't know. You've just named 4 fighters there. The general public won't know any of them are.
I think they draw in good numbers on a Saturday night.
But this goes back to my earlier point I was making about Bob Arum and Frank Warren. They're not. They just look in this modern context of promoters. These guys look like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
They
don't look social media, do they?
No, and I just think maybe if you put Hearn with the fighters that Warren's got, you would do a far better job. I think Frank Warren's got a golden opportunity. Like I said, I see where Carl's coming from. Frank Warren's got a great opportunity to capitalize on this. The only way is up. You couldn't get any worse. I mean, you got to remember, if you look through his stable, he's got fighters that are promotable, and he's got stories about them, you know. So the likes of Lyndon Arthur, you know, he can still make something out of Anthony Yard, Callum Johnson,
Daniel Dubois,
Archie Sharp, Dennis McCann,
who's that kid from Stoke?
Nathan Haney, who sings with all the fans. You know, you still got Jack Catterall, who's probably going to fight Josh Taylor in Scotland. You know, you still got Michael Conlon, don't forget, from Belfast.
I tell you what he's got, Ray. He's got a golden opportunity at light heavyweight. There's what, 4 fighters in his stable?
Yeah,
fighting at light heavyweight, all as good as, almost as good as each other.
Yep,
that's a round robin for me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's a tournament. Put it on as a tournament.
Carl said that's going to be happening in August.
What, as a tournament?
That's what
I'm sure Carl said that a couple of shows ago, didn't you, Carl?
No, they're going to put them on the same night, Ray.
On the same bill, Ray. On the
same bill, was it? Oh, that was it. Was it?
Yeah, the same bill.
Yeah, but for me as a promoter, straight away you're thinking that's going to make massive money. Let's put them all on against each other and see who's the best.
Yeah. So let's come away from the promotions now. A couple of quick ones, and then we'll bring this to an end, guys. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So World Boxing Super Series, the female version, absolutely brilliant. Calla Sowland.
This has come way too late. I mean, I don't like to say women boxing because it's gone past that now.
Ebony Bridges told me off for saying that.
I know she did, and she's well within her rights, mate. But you talk to other female boxers, and they're proud just to be called a boxer.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
welcome to her opinion. Of course, she is. But from my point of view, don't bracket it. It don't need to be bracketed. But anyway, back to the point. Why has Eddie Hearn not done this for one of the 3 fight camps? He had an opportunity there to create, say, week 3 could have been a whole women's show.
You nearly did. Do the card? Do you not remember? He had pretty much all women fights. Was it when
Terry Harper that night, wasn't it?
Yeah, when he had Terry Harper on, it was near enough all women fights, or at least 4 out of the 5 fights were women's fights.
He didn't really bill it as that, though, Ray, did
That's what I mean. That's kind of what I'm saying. He's had an opportunity here. He's got 3 weeks, and he's had an opportunity to basically do what the World Boxing Super Series is going to do. It's massive. This is going to be massive, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see that on Sky as well. By the way, and I hope it is. So. In your opinion, then, who do you see as these 8 fighters?
Terry Harper, Jonas, Choi, Pursoon. I think one of the Americans will be in. I think they're trying to Serrano. I know Amanda Serrano isn't going to be in because what she's saying is she's tied up with 2 mandatories at featherweight,
right,
which is the weight class below, which is a shame. So she said she would have to vacate. And
who currently holds the belts in that division, Ray?
Choi and Harper, in a Mexican girl. Mexican girl.
Is one of American?
No, I think she's Mexican. I think.
Maya.
Is Mia got a world title? Michaela Mia.
I thought she had the WBO.
Does she?
I don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I might be wrong.
I think Mia will be in the tournament. I don't know if she's got a belt or not.
So there's a possibility there's a possibility there could be 3 belts on the line then in this tournament.
Yeah. And there's who else was I thinking of? Fanders as well, who did fight. She fought against Terry Harper, didn't she? And she lost. She got stopped. I think she could come back in this.
Right.
And don't forget as well. What there'll be people from lightweight that I want to come down. And in lightweight you've got Katie Taylor.
She's not going into this tournament, mate.
She's not, but you've got Katie Taylor. You obviously got Jonas. And there's a few other names as well that can be easily tempted to drop in. But you could never rule it out. I mean, if I was Katie Taylor, I would stay away from it. But if the money's right, which I'm sure it would be, why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm. She kind of has nothing to prove, though, does she?
But she's a warrior.
No, well,
remember the amount of credit and prestige. This person is going to emerge, a pound for pound star. Not the pound for pound, but a pound for pound star.
Yeah.
Man one is on Jonas.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Carl.
I want to see their lineup first, but she's going to be a heavy favourite.
Should we bang up for this?
Yeah, she's going to be a heavy favourite. I worry for Harper.
This for me, this is the only way Jonas is going to get her hands back on Harper, because there's no way Eddie Hearn's ever going to let that happen again. It's way too dangerous, and we've said it already. Natasha Jonas won the first fight.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, we told her to our face.
Yeah, she got robbed. She's been screaming for the fight again. She was told initially that it was going to happen straight away, and then Harper's camp decided to go another route because they knew full well Harper wasn't going to beat the second time round. It wasn't going to happen. So if Harper is joining this tournament, good on her. But this for me is Natasha's golden opportunity to become a world champion because she deserves to be.
Yeah.
I think for me, the reason why I like to see it out, because for me, I think Pursuit's going to be an absolute monster at this weight.
She's my concern, mate. If she can get down to the weight, because she's real tough, isn't she?
She's game,
yeah. She comes forward, and she just takes any kind. Nothing deters her.
She can make the weight.
Well, if she's given enough time, I mean, she's naturally a lightweight, so she might find it easy to. She's listed on BoxRec as being a super featherweight, so
right,
it can be doable.
That's interesting because she is really.
What you got to remember with the female fighters are more interchangeable and more fluid in the weight categories than the men, because there isn't that much depth. And that's why Kali Sauerland's saying he's putting it on now as opposed to 3 or 4 years ago, because there's more depth appearing.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's great promoting, really, because you can see where how much it's grown. Even in the last, kind of year and a half, it's absolutely blown up, hasn't it?
He's not daft. What he's been doing is he's been going and he's been watching Fight Camp, or he's been watching the fights, Eddie Hearn's back on and what have you. He's been going along. He's been sitting there, and he actually says in the interview on a YouTube channel, he sat there and he's gone. He watched the Jonas Harper fight and the Jonas Katie Taylor fight, and he thought, I can do something with this. He's not daft, because he knows how big this is going to be in the UK because of what the fights we just mentioned.
Well, they just both occasions, didn't they?
I just hope the TV. Go on, Andy. Sorry.
The Natasha Jonas fight stole the shows.
Yeah.
But he's thinking, because Natasha Jonas isn't going to fight Harper again, but if I can put something like that on, have it in the UK and have, pursuing against Thunders or something in Germany or Belgium or Norway or what have you, get the winners to meet in a massive fight in the UK, then he's on a winner. But then
if there's more than one champion, say 3 belts are on the line, do you think they'll do it a bit like they did the other ones where the champions get to pick who they want to fight first round?
Yes.
Well,
It'll be drawn out of a hat.
yeah.
Because there'll be seeds, won't there?
Yeah. I just hope that they sort the TV rights out on this time, because it's a miss last time, wasn't it? Some of it was streamed, some of it was on this platform, that platform.
Well, because they've got such a big backing now, Cole, and because there's such an open space on Sky, it's a match made in heaven, really, isn't it?
Depends what the rights fee is.
I suppose, yeah.
So let's draw that one to a close in. The last topic, we've got 6 minutes. The last topic is Joyce versus Takam. So we'll start with Ray on this one. Give us your thoughts on this fight, Ray.
Joyce walks through. I think his job's impregnable at the minute. I don't think Takam brings anything to worry him, and I just think he ends up looking $1 million in this fight. As long as he doesn't take his eye off the ball, I'm not expecting a first round knockout because he's not that type of fighter. But what I'm expecting is a clinical performance from him, a strong performance from him. I think it's just too much for Takam. He's too intelligent for him. If Takam tries to tie him up, walk him down, he gets back on that jab. He uses his jab as defense as well as setting up his punches. I think he overrulls Takam. He's a volume puncher. He throws too much, and I think he can match him on the inside there as well. He's just as strong as Takam. So I can't see how Takam wins this fight.
Okay. I'll give my view quickly, Andy, and I'll let you close it.
All right.
Far too big. Punches, I agree, the jab. I don't see how Takam's getting around that jab. He's a bit of a broader Takam, so I think Joyce will have a good look at him for a round or two, but I just think eventually Joyce will land on him. I think he'll stop him rather than knock him out. I think he'll bust Takam up. So I'm going for a mid stoppage, probably round 6. He'll have enough by about round 6. And
you know how much I hate to agree with you, Carl, but I kind of don't have a choice here because this Takam's made for Joyce. This is going to make Joyce look. I've been saying, Anta, Joyce needs to prove himself at a level. Takam's at that level. He's been in with some decent opponents and lasted quite a long time with a lot of them. Joyce is made to look great against Takam. That jab's going to destroy him. Takam's a come forward fighter, and he's going to defend that jab with his head. And it'll break Takam's heart. I agree, mate. It's gonna be mid rounds. I say Round 7.
Okay. Right, and guys, anything else to add before I wrap up the show? Ray?
No, another great show again.
Andy, anything from you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so as ever, guys, like, comment, subscribe. We've got a couple of pre-recorded videos dropping probably tomorrow and Saturday. We'll also be having Ray's top 5 of trainers, heavyweights, and super middleweights still to be posted. Ray, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Yep, so they'll be coming out on a daily basis. Andy is due to record his over the coming days, so that'll be dropping out next week sometime. As ever, guys, feel free to comment in them videos below if you disagree or agree with Andy and Ray. And with no further ado, same time again next week. See you all at 9 p.m. See you later.